So I was actually just reminded recently in the last year or two that I was recommended, my very close friend recommended me to Pakara actually when I was in search of a Reiki energy healer. And that friend had been going through a Reiki program herself to become a Reiki master. So through someone in that process had been given Pakara's name. And there just something felt energetically right about her for some reason out of the list of people I had. So I reached out to her and went to an initial session. And I had to look back in my email. And I don't know if my emails are an accurate representation of when we first started working together, but it's been 9 or 10 years. And during that time, for me, I was on a deepening spiritual journey. I've been sober for 12 and a half years. So at that point I was maybe newly sober for a year or two, a couple of years. And so honoring my whole system, body, mind, and spirit, much more than I ever had in my life. So I think finding an energy healer was just sort of a next step. I forget at the time specifically what I was going through, physically or needing some additional attention beyond Western medicine. But I remember that's why I initially reached out and how I found her. And what struck me most about working with Pakara very early on was her calm, loving, open energy and just overall demeanor and approach to working with me as a patient. There was just so much care and so much ease in just showing up to her space, being in her space, and then obviously being treated by her. I also always found it really comforting and powerful, really, to be able to be given the space to check in for a bit verbally, to have almost a little bit of just a talk session before then she would move into all of the different treatment modalities and forms that she uses. So that it always felt like a release, both just energetically from being able to kind of get everything out of my head and talk it out, and then also have her use the wide range of tools that she has available to her. And that also then became very compelling for me over the years, continuing to go back to her, from the Chinese medicine to the Reiki, and then the Sufi healing and understanding the demon voices and healing your heart. Those practices have been really, really powerful for me. So I've seen Pakara over the years for many things: for physical pain, for digestion issues, I went through a period of experiencing eczema, knowing full well that a lot of that stuff was very stress related. And I think related to my professional life at the time, which up until 2.5 years ago, I didn't change much after getting sober. I worked in the advertising industry and I continued to work in that industry. It's incredibly intense and highly competitive and wonderful in many ways. Was a catalyst for a lot of growth and change in my life, and have worked with incredible and amazing people, and continued to work in a supporting role, I would say now, to people in that industry with my coaching practice. But seeing Pakara throughout this whole journey has helped give me a grounding and a place to go when that got wonky. Either my body was responding in a way that was letting me know that something was out of whack, or I was feeling it really intensely, emotionally, psychologically, through anxiety, fear, and those kinds of things. And so having Pakara as, I call the group of people that I have surrounding me in my life that are supporting both myself personally, but also my business, how I'm of service to others as an extension of myself. I call it my spiritual board of directors, or my personal board of directors. You can take the spiritual out of it, but just that I've got this group of people, whether it's my financial advisor or my sort of Western MD, to Pakara and all of her healing modalities, to massage therapists, to dance teachers, just these people in my life, lawyer, they're there to give a full spectrum of support. I think we all need that in our lives. And so she's definitely been a key member of my personal board of directors for this time. And then after I left the corporate world, I would say this was right around the time that she was really introducing the demon work and the heart healing work. And it was a perfect timing because some of the fears that were coming up for me, I left the corporate world, I started my own business, I started a coaching practice. And prior to that, had lots of fears and beliefs about doing anything like that. Like I had no idea I would, if you had told me 3 years ago that I would have my own business today and be living in Richmond, Virginia after leaving New York City and schooling my son from home and eating a plant-based diet, like all the, I mean, basically everything in our life sort of opened up and changed, I would tell you were totally crazy. And so it's important to have people like this to support us. And right around that time, I believe Picaro was really diving into that heart healing work. And we had this really powerful session. Every session I had with her, I would leave, I have left feeling more aligned. Energy has very much been shifted and or released. Just from acupuncture alone, she's magical in so many ways. I would get big energy releases for sure. And the meditative time there on the table, I always found really powerful. But we sat and talked in one of these sessions a couple of years ago about these heart healing exercises, approaches. And it just really, really resonated. I really saw where I was being hard on myself, where there was some fear, and being able to look at it in these different ways and like being able to talk to the fear basically was just really powerful, really helpful at the time, and was one of those supportive tools in a moment when I was like stepping sort of into the unknown, or so it felt to my mind, to Benita, the person. And having that kind of support in those moments is incredibly powerful to help us continue to step forward into our truth. So I have this very successful coaching business now and have a much more free life and existence and designed in a way that's like really aligned with my truth and my desires. And so then I think Picaro and I could kind of see each other going back and forth with this, like how both of our lives were evolving and the different ways in which we were able to be of service to others. And a friend of mine and I created a group called the Connection Sessions, where we were bringing people together for meditation, self-inquiry, discussion, just workshops basically in addition, and like learning different modalities of self-care and introspection and reflection. And we asked Picaro to come and be a guest facilitator with us and do some of this healing work. And we had a really great turnout, a wonderful group of people. And to see her facilitate in a large group rather than just the one-on-one setting as a patient was really powerful and gorgeous. She's great at it. A few people had some really, really powerful experiences, like facing some tough stuff, like facing one's own heart and loving oneself. I think one of the hardest things we do as a human, which is so fascinating. Like we are intrinsically love, but actually giving it to ourselves after the ways in which we have been conditioned to maybe not do that can be a challenging like homecoming of sorts. And there were a couple of people there that day that it was intense, and she just handled it so beautifully. It was really powerful. So it was fun to shift our relationship from patient and practitioner or doctor to co-creators and collaborating in terms of bringing those services to a group of people. And I just love her dearly as a human and as a healer and as a friend. And it's an honor to share how amazing I think she is. It's such an awesome part of my now service to others and being a coach is that I get to then that like personal board of directors I was talking about, like having all of these different people in your life who you feel are great, wonderful, incredible service providers in their own right. If you feel an energetic match, so if I feel an energetic match between one of my clients and like a need I am not an expert at, but it seems like they maybe need filled, it's the best to be able to refer people out. So I've definitely had specific clients with like a specific sort of energy signature that I feel like Pakara would be able to give them the best healing. Like I can just tell based on who they are and who Pakara is, and sort of the gentleness, the love, the multiple approaches and modalities that she can use, that there is some of the work that she does, it's obviously not the physical interaction work like acupuncture, but the energy healing work and the heart healing work, that she can do that over video. So I know I've referred multiple clients to her, and not all of them have been necessarily local to where she practices. And it really is just about that like kind of matching of vibe and energy, and then knowing the type of healing that she provides would be like very much helpful to them or beneficial to them. So it is a lot of that like self-love healing with like a gentle but potent. I think there's something very potent about Pakara. It's gentle, but it gets the job done. That kind of match. Yeah, it will come up very quickly. I'll be like, oh, I want to mention Pakara to this person.